Did you know that some common medications could cause problems at the airport, even if you use them every day? If you don't follow certain rules, they could be confiscated immediately. Carrying medicine while traveling may seem simple, until one mistake puts you in trouble. Every year, thousands of passengers lose their medication simply because they are not aware of the regulations. In this video I am going to show you 10 common medications that can be withheld and, more importantly, how to prevent complications before boarding. This is not a myth or an internet rumor. The information you will see is based on official reports, customs updates, and real experiences of travelers who have already had their medications taken away for not knowing the rules. And yes, at some airports a simple syrup can be cause for a complete search. 1. Powerful analgesics, codeine and derivatives. Many common pain relievers contain codeine or small opioid derivatives. In several countries, including the United States, these substances are considered controlled. Even if you have a medical prescription, if you cannot clearly prove its legality and necessity, they may be confiscated or even transferred to secondary inspection. Codeine, present in tablets for severe pain and in cough syrups, is especially monitored. Advice: always carry your medical prescription, preferably translated into English, and keep medications in their original container. 2. Cough syrups with alcohol or codeine. Many over-the-counter syrups contain small amounts of alcohol or codeine. At airports with strict controls, these components may be seen as prohibited substances. Even products purchased legally from pharmacies could be withheld if they are not declared or if they exceed certain permitted levels. Advice: always declare them if they contain codeine or alcohol, and, if you can, also carry a medical certificate justifying their use. 3. Medications for anxiety. Anxiolytics such as diazepam, Valium, lorazepam, Ativan, or alprazolam, Xanax, are classified as controlled substances in multiple countries. Transporting them without their original prescription or out of their identifiable packaging can lead to immediate seizure. Additionally, some airports require an extra medical certificate if you carry more than your personal amount. Advice: always carry these medications in their original container, along with the prescription, and if possible, add a brief report from your doctor explaining the reason for their prescription. 4. Blood pressure medications without proper identification. Medications for hypertension are very common, especially among travelers over 50 years of age. However, it is a common mistake to carry them in generic pill boxes or simple plastic bags to save space. What many do not know is that at airports any tablet that is not correctly identified can be considered suspicious. Security officers are under no obligation to trust what the passenger says about the contents of each pill. If your medications are not in their original container, with a visible label, brand name and clearly indicated dosage, they may be confiscated on the spot and you could be sent for secondary inspection. Additionally, if you take several medications mixed together, the risk of problems arising increases considerably. Advice: always carry your blood pressure medications in their original box. If possible, accompany them with a medical note that explains your treatment. Avoid using pill organizers or bags without identification, especially if you are traveling internationally. 5. Inhalers for asthma or respiratory conditions. Inhalers are essential for millions of people who suffer from asthma or other respiratory diseases. However, at certain airports, especially on international flights, an undeclared inhaler may raise suspicion. Some of them contain chemical compounds that are regulated, and if they do not have their original label or if you transport several devices without medical justification, they could be detained. Additionally, if the inhaler does not display the patient's name and date of issue, it may be considered an unauthorized medication. Advice: always declare them at the security check, bring your prescription if you can, and make sure your name and details are clearly visible on the device. 6. Unregulated natural or herbal supplements. Many passengers include natural supplements such as ginseng, valerian, melatonin, or herbal extracts in their luggage to improve sleep or manage stress during travel. What few know is that in several countries these products are not considered medicines, but rather special consumption substances. Some supplements may contain prohibited components or ingredients that are not approved in the destination country, which can lead to immediate confiscation and even fines. Furthermore, transporting large quantities may raise suspicions of illicit trafficking of unauthorized products. Advice: only carry amounts for personal use, preferably in their original sealed container, and make sure the ingredients list is clearly visible. 7. Antibiotics without a visible prescription. Carrying antibiotics such as amoxicillin, ciprofloxacin, or azithromycin can be a problem if you do not have a valid prescription. In many countries, antibiotics are controlled-use medications due to the risk they pose to public health in terms of bacterial resistance. If you carry antibiotics loose, in bags, or without their original identification, they will likely be confiscated, denied entry, or sent for secondary inspection. Advice: always carry antibiotics in their original box, accompanied by a recent prescription. If you are going to travel abroad, even better if you can present the recipe translated into English. 8. Sleeping medications. Sleep-inducing pills such as zolpidem, Ambien, or zopiclone are classified as controlled substances in different countries due to their addictive potential. Moving them without proper documentation may raise suspicions of smuggling psychotropics. Even minimal amounts may be enough to be confiscated or subject to detailed customs inspection. Advice: make sure you always carry these medications in their original packaging, along with a current medical prescription, and declare them if the authorities request it at the security checkpoint. 9. Medicines that contain ingredients prohibited in other countries. Some common cold, cough, or sinus remedies include substances like pseudoephedrine or dextromethorphan, ingredients that, although legal in your country, are restricted or prohibited in other destinations. Places like Japan, the United Arab Emirates, Singapore, or Mexico have strict regulations, and carrying medications with these substances could not only result in confiscation of the product, but also in hefty fines or legal questioning. This risk applies even to small amounts in carry-on luggage. The most serious thing is that many times these restrictions are not visibly marked, and many travelers find out only when they are already being detained. Advice: before traveling, carefully review the ingredients of all medications you take, even over-the-counter ones, and make sure they do not contain ingredients that are regulated or prohibited in your destination country. It is always better to be informed beforehand than to regret later. 10. Liquid medications that exceed permitted limits. In most international airports, liquids must meet very specific standards. Each container cannot exceed 100 milliliters and all must be kept inside a transparent bag with a maximum capacity of 1 liter. This rule also applies to liquid medications such as syrups, eye drops, nasal sprays, or oral solutions. If you transport liquid medication that exceeds 100 milliliters without having declared it or having medical support, it is very likely that it will be confiscated, no matter how necessary it is for your health. Furthermore, if the container is open or shows signs of having been tampered with, the risk of it being rejected increases even more. Many travelers believe that, because it is a medication, they are exempt from these restrictions. But in reality, air safety authorities apply these regulations strictly. Advice: always carry a medical certificate that justifies the need to transport that medication, keep it in its original, sealed container, and don't forget to declare it when you go through security checks. Final reflection. As you watch this video, there are hundreds of passengers around the world losing their essential medication simply because they are not aware of these rules. A mistake as small as poorly packaged syrup or an unidentified pill can ruin your trip in a matter of seconds. Don't wait until you get to the control line to realize everything you could have prevented. Today there are travelers who are being detained, inspected, or fined just for carrying common medications that they did not declare correctly. Remember, what you don't know can cost you not only the flight, but something much worse. And if you think your luggage is the only problem, wait until you discover what you might be doing wrong during the flight without even knowing it. In our next video we will reveal to you 7 common mistakes on board that can cause you anything from simple annoyances to unexpected penalties. So activate the bell, subscribe now and get ready, because what's coming is going to surprise you. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you aboard this Be Amazed flight. As we rise into the air today, I will reveal to you some amazing and little-known facts about aviation. From the mystery of in-flight food to how choosing the safest seat could mean the difference between life and death. Below, you'll discover some of the most surprising flight secrets that are rarely shared with passengers. Prepare to board. The boarding process is, without a doubt, one of the most tense stages of air travel. We've all been there. You go through security and finally arrive at the gate, only to find a long line of people waiting to board. What many don't know is that there really isn't much point in rushing to join the line, since most airlines assign seats in advance. Although some companies call passengers in groups to board, it is not necessary to follow this indication to the letter. Boarding last is the easiest way to reduce the time you spend on the plane. If your hand luggage is not excessively large or difficult to store in the overhead compartments, there is little point in waiting in line to occupy a seat that already belongs to you. By boarding later, you'll also avoid congestion in the gate and bridge area, making the entire process faster. While you wait, why don't you take the opportunity to check your boarding pass? The 6-character alphanumeric code that appears on many boarding passes is called Passenger Name Record, PNR, and is used to identify each passenger, especially when there is more than one person with the same name. This code, registered on flight booking platforms, can provide a wealth of information about you, such as your date of birth and contact details. For this reason, you should never dispose of your boarding pass in a public trash can. Additionally, the database associated with this code may include your credit card information, passport details, and even your IP address if you purchased the ticket online. While it's already disturbing that a single code is linked to all your personal information, wait until you discover another code that could appear on your boarding pass. If you see the letters SSSS on your ticket, you may be subject to more extensive security screening. The reason? These acronyms correspond to Secondary Security Screening Selection, i.e. a secondary selection for additional security checks. This code is included on the boarding passes of those passengers that airlines consider potentially suspicious. As we well know, airports apply very strict security measures, and behaviors that may seem completely normal to us could be interpreted as unusual by security personnel. Actions such as purchasing tickets at the last minute, paying in cash or booking only one trip can raise alerts. Therefore, don't be alarmed if you see that code on your pass, as long as you have nothing to hide. Surprising solutions. Airplanes are considerably heavy structures. It is astonishing to imagine that a typical commercial aircraft can reach a maximum takeoff weight of approximately 175,000 pounds, including about 90,000 pounds of fuel and another 45,000 pounds for passengers, crew, and luggage. Despite their imposing dimensions, these machines can still experience difficulties while in flight, often caused by elements that are also in the sky. It is evident that encounters between airplanes and birds rarely have a good outcome, at least for the bird. However, they can also cause considerable damage to aircraft when the impact occurs at high speed. Such was the case of the Turkish Airlines plane that, in 2015, collided with a bird. Luckily, none of the passengers were injured, although the bird was not as fortunate. More than 13,000 such incidents are recorded annually in the United States, and some are serious enough to affect engine operation. With physical barriers like walls and fences failing to keep birds off runways, airports are forced to find more inventive solutions. At Reagan National Airport, located in Virginia, they use cannons that launch volleys to scare away birds. At other airports, people choose to make the environment less hospitable to birds by filling in gaps or replacing grass with gravel. At the Salt Lake City Airport, they use pigs that consume seagull eggs to control their population. For its part, the Lourdes Pyrenees Airport in France uses LED screens that show enormous eyes, functioning as a modern version of a scarecrow to deter birds of prey. However, Birds are not the only concern for airports. Extreme weather events are not so easily intimidated, even by a penetrating glance from digital eyes. Hailstorms are among the most risky weather phenomena for aircraft, as they can cause severe damage. In this case, the nose of a jet plane was completely destroyed upon impact with hail the size of golf balls. After crossing the storm, the cockpit windows were so damaged that the pilots had to make the landing with almost no visibility. Luckily, there were no injuries, although the bill for the airline was undoubtedly painful. Before continuing, remember to like if you are enjoying the video, and subscribe to the channel to receive the best advice on how to attract abundance and prosperity into your life. Let's move on. Although hailstorms already present a challenge, many travelers are also concerned about the possibility of lightning striking their plane. As unlikely as it may seem, it is estimated that every commercial aircraft in the United States is struck by lightning at least once a year. However, as alarming as it sounds, this type of incident is not as risky as you might think. Before starting to operate, each plane is subjected to tests that simulate electric shocks to verify its driving ability. Thanks to this, it is guaranteed that the beam can pass through the structure of the plane and exit through one end, such as the tip of the wing or the nose, without affecting the passengers, who remain completely safe. Well, except for some underwear ruined by the scare. Unexpected download. Have you ever used the bathroom on an airplane and wondered what happens to what you throw away? Despite popular belief, airplane toilets are not emptied mid-flight. Although, yes, sometimes unforeseen events occur. When you press the flush button, strong suction removes debris using very little water, saving both space and weight on the aircraft. All that content ends up in a large warehouse equipped with disinfectant. At the end of a flight, the mixture is sucked into a tanker truck located at the airport and subsequently disposed of. However, the frozen block of what could be described as shredded Smurfette in this image is composed of an unpleasant combination of human waste and blue disinfectant liquid. This block was found at ground level after falling from an aircraft in 2017. Between 1979 and 2003, at least 27 confirmed cases of this type of blue ice meteorite were recorded in the United States, including situations in which these fragments passed through the roofs of homes located under air approach routes. Although there is no system designed for pilots or cabin crew to make bad jokes on purpose, sometimes the airplane's septic tank can leak unintentionally. So if you ever see a big block of blue ice in your yard, trust me, it's not blueberry ice cream. Don't try it. And since we're talking about bathrooms at 10,000 meters above sea level, I bet you didn't know there's a hidden way to open an airplane bathroom door from the outside. The next time a child gets trapped in the airplane bathroom, or if you simply want to be kicked off the flight for displaying suspiciously curious behavior, you can open the door from the outside with just one finger. In many airplane bathrooms, the exterior locks are hidden behind the metal sign that says lavatory, like this one, and are designed for crew use in emergency situations. Simply lift the sign, slide the latch to the unlocked position, and then quickly exit before the flight attendants catch you for being naughty. Food for thought. We all know that airplane food is generally bad, but have you ever wondered why? What happens with the food on board? In-flight meals are typically prepared on the ground by industrial catering companies near the airport, and are typically made between 12 and 72 hours before the plane takes off. Contrary to what many think, most of these meals are not frozen, but rather quickly cooled and then transported to the plane, where flight attendants reheat them and serve them during the flight. Some high-end airlines offer chefs and kitchens on the plane, as is the case on some Etihad Airways flights. However, the food served on board can never compare to that of a 5-star restaurant on land. So why does airplane food taste so bad? The answer lies in human biology. Aircraft cabins maintain humidity as low as 10% during flight, which is drier than the Sahara Desert itself. With such low levels of humidity, our nasal passages dry out to the point of altering our perceptions of taste and smell. After time in the cabin, the tongue's ability to identify sweet flavors decreases by 15 to 20%, while salty flavors are reduced by 20 to 30%. To counteract this, some airlines significantly increase the amount of salt and sugar on their menus. Therefore, you are probably eating many more calories than you imagine with that food on board. If boring airplane meals are putting you off, you actually have a solution. It has been found that using noise-canceling headphones can improve the taste of food and drinks while traveling. Interestingly, research has revealed that environmental noise can reduce our ability to taste properly. Therefore, putting on headphones that cancel out the sound of the engine could help your senses better connect with the experience. It's not just travelers who have to deal with what happens to food in the air. There are also clear rules about what foods pilots can and cannot consume while on duty, and there is a reason for this. Pilots and co-pilots are advised not to eat the same thing during the flight, as a precaution against possible shared food poisoning. If one of them gets sick due to spoiled food, the other can take over. However, there is a hierarchy in pilot meals. On several airlines, the pilot has access to a meal from the first-class menu, while the co-pilot receives something from the business class menu. Without a doubt, this makes for a rather uncomfortable dinner. Snakes on the plane. Given that pilots are responsible for the lives of hundreds of people, it's no surprise that this is one of the most stressful jobs on the planet. In addition to the stress inherent to the position, there is the fact of having to spend long hours in a small cockpit with a co-pilot that you can't even really see. Well, in such a dangerous profession, making sure pilots don't work with someone they can't stand is seen as a critical safety issue. To reduce tensions, both captains and first officers have a non-matching list, on which they can write down the names of those colleagues with whom they would prefer not to work. Requests are made through a monthly calendar, and the approved list is incorporated into the airline scheduling system, ensuring that two pilots with conflicts do not end up sharing the cockpit. Although it may seem excessive, a distraction caused by professional rivalries could cause a serious accident, especially during takeoff or landing, when it is essential to maintain maximum concentration. It would be ideal if we all had such attentive colleagues in any job. The safest place, contrary to what movies and television shows often portray, flying is actually one of the safest methods of transportation, with a chance of dying in a commercial airline accident of 1 in 3.37 billion. Despite these figures, almost 1 in 3 Americans experience fear when flying, which has raised concerns about where the safest place would be in the event of a plane crash. An analysis of 17 air incidents that occurred in the last 35 years, conducted by Time magazine, offered an answer. According to the study, seats located in the rear of the plane showed an average survival rate of 68%, in contrast to 62% in the front area and 61% in the center area. You might think that aisle seats are safer, allowing quicker access to emergency exits, but data indicates that center aisle seats are the least safe, with a 56% survival rate. On the other hand, seats in the center, particularly in the rear area of the plane, are the safest, offering a 72% chance of survival in the event of an emergency landing. I like those figures, although I hope none of us have to put them to the test. Mysteries of heaven. If you've ever sat next to the window on an airplane, you may have noticed a small hole in the bottom of the glass. Although it may seem like an unimportant detail, it is actually one of the most crucial safety features of the aircraft. But why is it so valuable? As altitude is gained, air pressure is reduced, making it necessary for airplanes to be equipped with systems that maintain adequate and comfortable internal pressure for breathing in the cabin. This considerable variation in pressure generates great physical stress on the windows, which requires them to be especially robust. While a conventional single-layer window would break easily at this height, aircraft windows are made up of 3 strong layers of acrylic. The outer shell is designed to protect against external elements and keep the pressure inside the cabin stable. In the event that this first layer fails, the second comes into play as a backup. The panel closest to the interior acts as an additional defense and prevents direct contact with the other panels, which could compromise their integrity. The tiny hole I referred to, called the bleed hole, is located on the center panel, and its main function is to regulate the air pressure between the middle and outer panels. Plus, it helps prevent the windows from fogging up or freezing, since, let's face it, a big part of in-flight entertainment consists of watching the scenery through the window. Inside the plane. Have you ever noticed those little red or black triangles scattered around the cabin? Their function is more important than it seems. They are placed to indicate to the crew which window has the best perspective of the plane's wing, making it easier for them to inspect if there is any problem with the wing or the engine. So if you find yourself sitting near a triangle, don't be alarmed if a crew member starts peeking over your shoulder. In addition to strategic symbols and icons, sounds are also used during the flight to ensure everything runs smoothly. Many regular passengers will recognize this sound, ring. Although most associate this warning with the need to return to the seat and fasten the seatbelt, it can actually have several additional meanings. Each airline uses these sounds a little differently, but there are some common patterns you might recognize on your next plane trip. A single tone may be a signal from the pilot to the crew to warn of impending turbulence, or perhaps he is just ordering a coffee. Two beeps in a row typically signal that the aircraft has reached an altitude of 10,000 feet, while three or more beeps typically indicate a more serious situation, such as a passenger with a medical emergency or a severe turbulence warning. So pay attention. If the doorbells start ringing as if you were in the middle of a show de route, sandstorm, maybe it's time to go into alert mode, or get out your best dance moves. Class conflict. Crying babies, tight seats and zero room to stretch your legs. Traveling economy class can feel like a direct ticket to the underworld. In contrast, with individual seats, unlimited champagne, chocolate-dipped strawberries and more, it's no surprise that flying first class is the golden dream of many. The level of comfort provided by first class may seem perfect for relaxing on a long flight, but is it really worth the high cost? If we compare it with business class, which is usually the closest alternative in quality, it is not so clear that the price difference is worth so much. Many of the benefits that one would assume are exclusive to first class can also be found in various areas of business class. Both first and business class on many airlines provide gourmet multi-course menus, sometimes presented in elegant tableware and crystal stemware, along with comfortable pillows and soft blankets. In several cases, business class also includes complimentary pajamas. Many airlines are currently dedicating resources to elevating the business class experience, with the goal of completely replacing first class. Some are even designing individual capsules exclusively for this category. Really, the only notable distinctions are that first class has a slightly larger seat, which sometimes comes with a private cabin, plus a few extra items on the menu, such as sparkling wine and whiskey. However, the large disparity in cost is not justified by a proportional difference in the care received. In general, a business class ticket is usually twice as expensive as an economy class ticket. On the other hand, a first class ticket can cost up to 6 times more than an economy ticket. Personally, I would choose to save that difference and enjoy a more luxurious hotel room when I arrive at my destination. And what do you think? Like it if you lean towards first class, or subscribe if you prefer to invest in high-end accommodation. Or better yet, treat yourself to both. After all, you're on vacation. Rest in the heights. Long plane rides can be exhausting for passengers, but have you ever wondered how flight attendants always look so alert and energetic? The next time you take a long flight, notice a door that appears to be just a regular closet. However, this door actually leads to a hidden room. Climbing a very narrow staircase, the flight attendants reach what is called the rest area, a space intended exclusively for the crew to take a short rest. These spaces are usually found in the upper part of the plane, one in the rear area for flight attendants and another in the front for pilots. Each bed is equipped with a pillow, a duvet and a seat belt that must be put on if any of the crew members decide to rest. Controlled breaks, as they are known among employees, are assigned periods for flight attendants to sleep based on the duration of the journey, and they are awakened by other crew members via intercom once their break has ended. Some luxury airlines, such as Singapore Airlines, make sure to offer their crew members an exclusive experience, providing private cabins with high-end amenities, including silk pillowcases. Pilots, for their part, usually have private rooms located at the front of the plane, which generally have 2 large spaces to rest, 2 business class seats, a closet and a bathroom. So, the next time you wonder what happened to that kind assistant who brought you your drink, maybe she's right above you, lost in thought. Jokes aside, the health and well-being of the crew, especially the pilots, is crucial, as some surprising statistics reveal. In fact, according to a survey carried out by the British Airline Pilots Association, 84% of pilots confessed that their ability to handle the plane was affected by exhaustion. Additionally, 56% acknowledged that they had fallen asleep while in control of the aircraft. In May 2021, a pilot fell asleep for 40 minutes while flying on a commercial flight between Cairns and Redcliffe, Australia. During that time, he flew over his destination for 70 miles before waking up. Fortunately, most commercial airliners have autopilot systems that maintain things like altitude. This means that pilots do not need to have full control over the aircraft throughout the flight. However, it is still extremely dangerous for them to oversleep, especially if an emergency occurs, which will certainly be one of the reasons to be alert on my next flight. Death in mid-flight, although it is not a topic that we like to address, people die almost anywhere. Sometimes this can include being at 30,000 feet in altitude. Although extremely unusual, the crew must be ready to deal with the unfortunate event of a death on board. If a passenger dies during a flight, the crew will generally have to wait until reaching the final destination to remove the body from the plane. Sometimes, airlines give the deceased passenger one last courtesy, placing them in the quietest section of business class. In the event that there is not enough space to relocate the deceased passenger, the crew will cover their body with a blanket, previously ensuring that it is securely fastened to ensure the safety of other passengers. Singapore Airlines implemented a more advanced solution than the old procedure of simply covering it with a blanket and hoping not to be alarmed, launching a fleet of Airbus planes with compartments specifically designed to accommodate an average-sized body in in-flight death situations, known as body lockers, which, by the way, sounds like the name of a death metal band. These compartments were designed specifically for the Airbus A340-500 model. This made sense, since these planes make the longest commercial journey in the world without stops. The flight from Singapore to John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York takes approximately 18 hours and 40 minutes. I would certainly choose to have a macabre body closet on the plane rather than be the crew member who asks first-class passengers if they mind spending 18 hours next to a dead body. Which of these flight secrets surprised you the most? Do you have any you want to share? Tell me in the comments, and thank you for flying with Be Amazed. Does airport security stress you out? Find out how to avoid it. Going through security at the airport can turn into a nightmare if you're not prepared. Between eternal lines, unexpected checks and strict rules, many travelers make mistakes that waste time and patience. But it doesn't have to be that way. Today we will review the 10 most frequent mistakes that people make when crossing the security checkpoint, and most importantly, we will give you practical tips to avoid them. This way you will speed up the process, reduce stress and avoid uncomfortable situations. Don't leave before the end, because the 10th mistake could save you from a thorough review and losing valuable minutes. 1. Forget about the liquid norm. One of the biggest mistakes is not following the famous 3-1-1 rule. Liquids must be in containers of up to 100 milliliters, inside a transparent bag with an airtight seal. Some believe that if the bottle is half empty, there will be no problem, but security agents make no exceptions. If you don't comply, you'll have to take everything out, your luggage will be searched, and you could even lose that expensive perfume you were carrying in your handbag. Solution: prepare your liquids before leaving home. Store them in a clear bag and place it in an easy-to-reach place, such as an outside pocket. Thus, when you get to the scanner, you will only have to remove it quickly without complications. 2. Not preparing electronics correctly. Did you know that one of the biggest delays in check-ins is due to people not organizing their devices well? Laptops, tablets, e-readers, and even accessories such as headphones or wireless keyboards should be separated when passing through the scanner. The problem arises when these items are buried under clothes and other objects, forcing you to open your suitcase in front of everyone and holding up the line. Solution: store your electronics in an accessible compartment, such as a special pocket in your backpack. Also, Pay attention to staff instructions, as some airports have specific rules about which devices must be removed. 3. Not charging your devices before the trip. Did you know that carrying your electronics with a low battery can make it difficult for you to go through security? Some airports require the devices to be turned on during screening to verify they are real. If your laptop or phone doesn't turn on, they may hold it for further inspection. Solution: fully charge your devices the night before. Bring a power bank, if it meets the capacity standards. If you are flying internationally, check to see if the destination country has specific requirements. 4. Arriving just in time, an unnecessary risk. Underestimating time at the airport is one of the most costly mistakes. Between unexpected lines, random controls, or gigantic terminals, what seemed like enough time can turn into a race against the clock. Recommendations: domestic flights, arrive 2 hours early. International flights, 3 hours minimum, more if there is migration or stopovers. Use online check-in to avoid lines at counters. If the airport is new to you, research its layout, some even require internal trains. 5. Ignoring the details of your boarding pass. That digital or printed pass doesn't just tell you the exit door, it may contain hidden clues about your trip. For example, SSS, Secondary Security Sequence, indicates a random additional inspection. If you see it, arrive early so you don't miss your flight. Organize your luggage to facilitate checking, liquids and electronics on hand. Stay calm, it doesn't mean you did something wrong. Can't check in online? There could be a problem with your reservation. Then, go to the airline counter as soon as possible. Check if you need additional documents, such as visas or permits. Mistake number 5, not organizing travel documents in time. One of the mistakes that generates the most tension in the security control is not having the documents on hand when they are requested. Agents often ask for your ID, passport, and boarding pass before allowing you to proceed, and if you have to rummage through your belongings, you'll hold up the line. Imagine the discomfort of having other travelers waiting while you desperately search for your papers. Additionally, the likelihood of misplacing something important increases. To avoid this, keep your documents in an easy-to-access place, such as an external pocket or a special travel wallet. If you are traveling in a group or with minors, make sure you have all the papers together and organized. On international flights, check in advance if you need visas or medical certificates. Good organization will make the process smoother and save you stress. Mistake number 6, neglecting your personal belongings at the security checkpoint. In the hustle and bustle of airport control, it is common to get distracted and lose sight of your belongings. When removing electronics, liquids, or shoes, you could forget something in the trays or even be a victim of theft. Items such as phones, wallets or documents are exposed and vulnerable. To protect your things, organize them before you get to the scanner, put valuable items in a secure pocket or a fanny pack. Do not cross the detector arch until your trays are moving, and when finished, carefully check that nothing is missing. This precaution will avoid headaches during the trip. Mistake number 7, choosing impractical clothing and footwear. Your clothing can make passing through security easier or more complicated. Shoes with laces or heels delay the process when taking them off and on, while clothing with metal, such as belts or thick zippers, can set off false alarms on the detectors. Opt for footwear that is easy to remove, such as slip-on sneakers, and avoid metal accessories. Wearing layers of clothing will allow you to adapt to changes in temperature and speed up control. The priority is to combine comfort and functionality to travel without setbacks. Mistake number 8, bringing wrapped gifts or suspicious-looking items. Are you planning to bring a gift for someone during your trip? If so, avoid wrapping it before arriving. Security officers are required to check any package that looks suspicious, and if your gift is carefully wrapped, they may have to unwrap it, ruining the presentation. The same applies to products such as liquids in unlabeled containers, artisanal creams or objects with unusual shapes, as they may generate additional reviews. Tips to avoid it. Prefer gift bags. Use a decorative bag instead of wrapping paper, as it is easier to inspect without damaging it. Avoid ambiguous liquids. Make sure all gels and liquids comply with carry-on regulations and are in clear, labeled containers. Check restrictions. If you have questions about an item, check the airport or airline policies before packing it. A little planning will avoid delays and protect your gifts. Mistake number 9, using the phone in restricted areas. It may seem harmless to check your phone while waiting at security, but many airports prohibit the use of electronic devices in these areas. Ignoring these rules could result in a warning, temporary retention of your phone, or even a search if you are suspected of recording or photographing sensitive equipment. How to prevent problems. Look for signs. Look for signs indicating whether phone use is allowed in the area. Wait until you are in the departure lounge. Avoid calls or messages until you have completely passed the security check. Store your device. Keep your phone in your pocket or carry-on while in the restricted area. Respecting these rules will not only speed up your pace, but will also avoid conflicts with airport staff. Mistake number 10, not paying attention to the instructions in the line. Many delays at security checkpoints occur not because of the number of passengers, but because some travelers ignore staff instructions and airport notices. Signs and advertisements clearly explain what to do before reaching the scanner: remove shoes, remove liquids and electronics, and empty pockets. However, those who do not follow these rules cause additional reviews and slow down the process for everyone. How to fix it? Read the signs while you wait. Take advantage of the time in line to review the rules. Listen to staff. Agents often repeat instructions. Taking care of them will help you be ready. Observe others. If other passengers are taking out their laptops or taking off their shoes, do the same. Ask if you have questions. If you are unsure about something, ask an agent before arriving at the scanner. Being prepared will not only save you time, but will also contribute to a more efficient process for everyone. Mistake number 11, not securing your luggage correctly. One of the most common mistakes when traveling is not adequately protecting luggage, whether checked or carry-on. This may result in theft, loss, or damage. A poorly closed suitcase is tempting to people with bad intentions, and airlines do not always handle luggage delicately, increasing the risk of it opening or getting bumped. How to avoid it? Use TSA-approved locks. These allow agents to open them if necessary, without breaking them. Check zippers and closures. Make sure all compartments are well sealed before checking in. Wrap your suitcase if necessary. For fragile items, consider the protective plastic available in airports. Do not carry valuable items in checked luggage. Jewelry, electronics, and important documents should go in your carry-on luggage. A little caution can prevent loss and ensure your belongings arrive safely at your destination. Conclusion. These are the 11 most common errors in security controls and how to solve them. With these recommendations, you will be able to go through the airport without stress and enjoy a calmer trip. Have you made any of these mistakes? Do you have any other tips for traveling with less complications? Leave us your comments and share your experiences. If you found this information useful, don't forget to share it with other travelers. Have a good trip and until the next adventure.